Good afternoon. My talk on international transformation of internal transformation and external reorientation of Myanmar, regional implications. I will cover in 5 sections. One is introduction, second is internal transformation, third is external reorientation, fourth is regional implications, and last but not least, conclusion. So, as you all know, since independence, Myanmar faced a lot of problems politically and economically, internally, and since 1962, Myanmar is under military rule, and there was a different democratic movements, but no one succeeded properly. There was an election in 1990 when the party of Aung San Suu Kyi, National League for Democracy, won the election. But military junta did not give power to Aung San Suu Kyi, so it came as a conflict in the country internally, and there was a saffron revolution in 2007 where people make mass movement for democracy, but military successfully suppressed that movement also. Again in 2012 there was a movement where monks also protesting against military rule, but military again successfully maintained the stability in the country in terms of by suppressing democratic movements. But at the same time, though, we have seen always there was a military operation to suppress democratic movements, but at the same time military made some changes also to adapt to the changing realities. Considering that in 2008, military adopted a new constitution which gave some of the opportunities for the oppositions to come in politics and for election. And in 2008, military took many initiatives to include Aung San Suu Kyi's party in the political system. It was that firstly they accepted that Aung San Suu Kyi would be able to participate in the election process. But having said that, it is also true that in the political structure in the constitution, military secured its position in the power structure of the country. So in that context, I will see that what are the internal transformations and how Myanmar is reorganizing external relations also, since for a long time it was isolated from the West. Now it is continuing its relations. So, and I will see what are the regional implications in this process. So as I have discussed that military remains still in the center of the power. Having said that, military also made some changes. Particularly if we say that military established National Human Rights Commission, though there is a debate that it is not properly successful. Military 7-point roadmap to democracy, which was given in 2011, where military wants to share power with some political forces, democratic forces. So you can say that this transformation includes a new constitution, participation of the political forces in the democratic process, organizing political parties. There are many political leaders, though they are in jail, they were freed from them. So it is military is trying to adapt with the new process, as well as military also gave some opportunities for ethnic minorities. Myanmar has 135 ethnic minorities. So it is including in that, they are including them in the process. But at the same time, there are some minorities like Rohingya or other some minorities, they are not included in the process. But it seems that military government has an initiative to include them. On the other hand, within these changes, military remains at the center of power, and it is there is no hints that military may leave power to a totally full civilian government. This is the internal transformation. Secondly, I see that what are the external orientations. We can see that since Myanmar is a energy rich country. So many international companies tried to invest in Myanmar, but due to its undemocratic activities, there were Western powers was not always convenient to communicate with Myanmar. The USA, the Europe was always criticizing Myanmar's role in its country, military government's role. But China developed a good relations. There are huge Chinese investment in the country, and being isolated from the West, Myanmar also felt a necessity to be engaged with China. But within this time, since 2008, Myanmar government also changed some policy things. We should also need to make the name of India. Earlier, India was always inconvenient to communicate Myanmar, considering it as an undemocratic country. But after 2007 and 2008, Myanmar have changed a lot in its external orientation. Firstly, I would say Myanmar made a very good relation with ASEAN countries. But ASEAN also took a policy of constructive engagement. ASEAN thought that if we isolate Myanmar from engaging, that would lead Myanmar towards more violence in the country. So it is better to engage them, to reform them. It also, it can be said that it is also worked very well, and it gave Myanmar to opportunity to be engaged with ASEAN. ASEAN also, maybe informally convinced Myanmar to make some changes, we can say it. And Myanmar's relation continued with China, but India also came to develop relations with Myanmar, considering that Myanmar has a energy resource, as well as strategically Myanmar is situated in a very important part. So if India wants to get access in the Bay of Bengal, so it would be helpful for India. So India also changed its policy. Being rigid to the military government, India also tried to develop relations with Myanmar. And Myanmar also came forward, considering that due to economic development and opportunity, Myanmar also did not try to be isolated. On the other hand, if we see the West, particularly the Western companies had investment earlier also, particularly French company totally invested in Myanmar. But after 2008, the USA also took some initiatives to develop relations with Myanmar, considering that USA has some interest in the Asia-Pacific region. So some people may say that US policy of containment of China may go with this issue, but at the same time, it would be difficult to think that Myanmar would continue relations with USA by hampering its relations with China. So China remains still important, but USA also developing relations with Myanmar, as well as President Obama's visit to Myanmar gives a new sense that USA is also not want to be isolated from Myanmar. And the Europe always was criticizing about Myanmar's undemocratic activities, but now Europeans are also considering to develop relations with Myanmar, and they are, I would say, less vocal about the internal activities of Myanmar. Rather, they try to communicate with Myanmar and they try to help democratic forces to come in the forefront. And there is they also took some economically. Myanmar is opening its market for foreign investment, particularly Western investment. So it is also helping to develop relations with Myanmar. So we have seen that how internal developments as well as external orientation. So how is going to what are the implications for the region? First, we can see that it is it would make a partner Myanmar as in the Asia-Pacific region. As we know that it is Asia pivot of the Obama. So USA is coming to the Asia-Pacific, and while Myanmar is also strategically located in an important place, so it would make some geopolitical implications for the Asia-Pacific region. Secondly, we can say that there was always apprehension that if India develops relations with China develops relations with Myanmar, and China develops relations with Myanmar, and India is trying to develop relations with Myanmar. So how it is going to work? But it seems that Myanmar is also very effectively making a balance between India and China. On other words, you can say Myanmar is effectively engaging India and China in the process. And third implication, I would say that US interest in the region is increasing. So the way, as we can say that in the USA and China are in competition, but as well as their interests are sometimes converging. So in case of Myanmar, when both of them are coming together to work, it would be an opportunity for Myanmar as well as it would be an opportunity for India, for USA and China to negotiate in the process. I mean, to adapt with the situation, to adjust with the situation. And some people will say that China's so-called strings of pearls in the region, particularly Myanmar's Situi port, Sri Lanka's port Hambantota, and Pakistan's port Gwadar port. So in one way there was an apprehension among the Indians as well as among the USA that China may trying to encircle South Asia. So when they are also getting access with Myanmar, this tension will decrease and it would make the region, I would say, comparatively stable than earlier. And last but not least, we can say that Myanmar is geographically located in an important position where Myanmar can connect South Asia and Southeast Asia. So there's a different initiatives like we can say Asian Highway or BCIM, Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar Economic Corridor. So if Myanmar continues its opening for other countries, if Myanmar continues to liberalize its economy, if Myanmar maintains a stable situation, stable in the country would be a hub for connecting South Asia and Southeast Asia. At the same time, the countries like connected with Myanmar, China, as well as Bangladesh, as well as India also wanted to be very eager to be connected in the region. And India's look-east policy, Bangladesh relations with the ASEAN countries, Bangladesh relations with China, and Myanmar's economic development, Bangladesh economy desire, all things will converge in this sense. So I would say that one of the important implications that it is an opportunity to engage South Asia and Southeast Asia, and it would help Myanmar's internal transformation and external orientation will help it in a very interesting way. But at the same time, we should not forget the challenges also that if Myanmar is opening, Myanmar military yet not seems have shown any interest to leave power to full civilian authority. So if any threat comes to the military establishment, Myanmar may not accept it and Myanmar may reconsider its relations with others. But at the same time, when Myanmar is opening, being isolated would be again also difficult. So we can say it may be in future, it may be a great opportunity for the region, for the Asia Pacific, for South Asia and Southeast Asia, and last but not least for the security and stability of international politics. Thank you.